Is it possible that I look whiter than you right now?
It's possible. I don't know how, but hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to On Your Mental. My name is Ruben.
My name is Kabir.
And this is our first episode of the month of November. It's also the first episode where we're talking about Movember. We're joined by Mitch from Movember, and we're just getting caught up on everything new with it, fundraising with the team, and then a little bit about when men might think it's time to ask for help and how we go about doing that. So it was a really good talk, and we hope you all enjoy. We'll see you in a moment. Peace.
Skipper.
Have you done any other podcasts since coming on ours last time?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have? What other podcasts did you
You say that as if you're surprised.
Yeah, well, I mean,
People actually
I guess
want
you're
you on
busy
their
guy.
podcast.
Oh, Jesus Christ, eh?
What
That was
that?
my podcast.
Oh, okay. Do you
I don't know
listen
how.
to yourself?
I don't. I really don't know how that came
Oh
up.
my
I
God.
promise.
It's your ringtone.
What other podcasts did you go on?
I probably end up doing like 3 or 4 every November.
Oh, wow.
I did one for a wealth company earlier, like last month. They're like a big Movember supporter. I did one for the Irish Canadian, like I don't know even what they're called. They're called ICANN, but it's like an organization that looks after all the Irish people in Canada.
Sure.
And so they'll run events, and like if you need support, like you're an Irish, but you reach out to them and they'll like hook you up with other Irish members in your community. They run events, big cities. And so they have a big mental health focus. And so they got me to come on. There's a lot of Irish people flooding into because I work at the Dunbar Community Center on West Side towards UBC. In that area, there's a lot of Irish people moving in there. Irish are everywhere.
Do you have Irish heritage?
I have a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom's side. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Myself. I don't know how much I've talked about it with you
never
before.
Guessed.
No. My mom's a single mom. My dad's a sperm donor, so I've never known the side. But I did the whole 23andMe thing, and I'm pretty sure I've got I want to say it's like 40% Irish or something like that. It's up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's up there. Makes sense. Yeah,
It does.
Anyways, we're gonna be talking about Movember today. A little bit about Movember, and then some men's mental health stuff, because that's the whole. I guess that's why I support Movember. I know Movember has some other pieces to it, but that's why you're here.
Fuck prostate cancer.
Yeah, who cares, you know? But yeah, we'll start with that though, because since we have you here, Mitch, and you are with Movember, if you want to give our guests or our audience rather, you're the guest, a bit of a rundown of what you do, that'd be cool. And what Movember is looking like this year. What's new with Movember?
Sure. Yeah. So I work for Movember. It's a full-time job. I'm more than just a mustache farmer. I help run our fundraising at the charity. I think a lot of people know Movember mainly for the mustaches that are grown in the month of November, and it's a good cause. But actually, a lot of people are surprised when I say I actually work there, and it's actually a charity. And we're a pretty big charity, the world's largest men's health charity. We work all year round, trying to help men live healthier, happier, longer lives, basically. Men die on average about 6 years younger than women. And so we try to address that by focusing on prostate, testicular cancer, men's mental health, and suicide prevention. And our big fundraiser is in the month of November, where you grow a few extra hairs on your top lip and start some more conversations and raise some funds to support these programs. And so, I mean, what's new? I mean, we're still growing mustaches. Like, it's still a thing.
They
It's
look
not-
different
it's
this
not
year
like-
maybe than last year.
It's not beard ember, and like we're certainly funding some really interesting programs, some on like in the Indigenous space and some for veterans and first responders. We're in Vancouver right now, and we funded something in our backyard helping Vancouver firefighters. There's a retreat that they can go to now and kind of like upskill themselves in mental resilience and that kind of thing. So I'd say that's where some of the cool new stuff is, but it's also kind of like unfortunate, like when you talk about the cause, a lot of stuff is still the same. Like in Canada, 4,000 suicides will happen this year. 3,000 of them are by men. Wow. 75% of suicides are by men. Men are still really struggling. I think we did a study, and it's 39% of Canadian men said they will not talk to others about how they feel to avoid feeling unmanly, and so men are still, really burdening on this idea that you need to be that strong, stoic guy and really tough it out. That kind of mentality is still there. And so Movember's that time to, start these important conversations, make sure guys know it's okay to talk, take action for your health, especially for your mental health. And so that's why I have this, really atrocious thing on my top lip, because it really starts those conversations.
And we have this podcast here that we try and make it more commonplace to talk about mental health, right? But even then, I find myself catching the way that I am when it comes to difficult things. I often will realize I'm not opening up. Recently, I've gone through some stuff, and we'll talk about it today, that I kind of held back a little bit before reaching out for help about. So even when we try and practice it or preach it, it still takes work. And so that's why this charity is going to be ongoing, I'm sure, for years and years and years to come, because it's an ongoing battle. It's an ongoing thing.
I totally agree. Can totally relate to that as well. I work at Movember. I preach the hairy gospel, if you will, about men opening up and talking. And I also catch myself all the time. And I think, unfortunately, it's how we're wired. You can't undo, 20, 30 years of being socialized with all these messages, whether it's from the cartoons we watched as kids or the sports stars we looked up to or movies. It's really ingrained in us to, see showing vulnerability as a weakness or showing feelings as a sign of being unmanly. It's hard to undo it. So, we just need to keep on talking about it. And I think too, growing up, unfortunately for guys, we never had role models. There was never podcasts like this back when we were growing up. Sure. There was nobody to look to as a role model for being vulnerable or talking about this stuff. And so it's still pretty new. It's going to take some time. But stuff like this really does help, and causes like Movember, it's that chance to kind of start those conversations.
Yeah. Change is slow, right? Change is slow. Always has been, always will be.
I wonder what Movember has been going on for how long now?
It started in 2003 in Australia. Yeah.
It's a weird question, but I wonder if you were to find out the statistics of how it may have helped, other than donations and stuff like that. Have suicides gone down?
I mean, the thing is, I don't know the stats from now till then. I don't think they've really shifted significantly. The reality is, Movember is just a small part of the system. It really takes so much more than just this organization. Lots of other organizations need to take part. You need to see the change happen in government and in communities and workplaces. We all have a role to play. And even in friend groups, even to this day, if you talk to other people and ask them, hey, would you know how to support somebody if they're going through a tough time? They probably wouldn't know. We have campaigns around hashtags like Bella's Talk has been great. And a lot of people will say that they care about mental health, and that's important. And that awareness and discussion and stigma reduction is great. But we need to move to the next step. We need to be leaders in both our voice and our actions, and upskill ourselves on how to support others with their mental health, how to have that conversation, how to recognize the signs that someone might be going through a tough time. It's not always easy. I'll plug a Movember program that actually trains people on how to do that. It's called Movember Conversations. You can check it out at conversations.movember.com.
I'll put the link in the description for this episode.
It's literally a website where you can go learn about this, upskill yourself in 15 minutes so you can be there, when your friends need it, if they reach out to you.
I remember going through one of those last year. Because I think, was that new last year then?
Yeah, I believe so.
I remember going through. It was like a practice conversation.
Yeah,
right. Like understanding how to navigate those, because those conversations are tricky, right? They're very tricky to you feel like you might say the wrong thing sometimes to someone who's going through something difficult. I've worried in the past about maybe saying something that would trigger someone and make them feel worse, or send them down a spiral that somehow like now I'm part of the problem. And it's unlikely that will happen, but still it's good to have a place where you can practice and see some examples of how to go through those conversations. So Movember Conversations. Yeah. We'll put that in the description. Now, of course, we fundraise in this month. This is one of the bigger months for fundraising, because you mentioned this is a year-round thing, but Movember takes place in the month of November, and we're doing some fundraising. You are the head runner, the head man for this team that you're on. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about the team. What's the team name, first of all?
Yeah, sure. So, people that participate in Movember, some people do it by themselves or their workplace. I decided to start a Movember team with a bunch of friends, and the team is called Team Cinnamon and Oak.
Mm-hmm. And why is it called Team Cinnamon and Oak?
Yeah,
I've never
really
asked this.
Good reason. I made it up, and I kind of wrote a cheeky description. And one of the reasons I say is because if you're part of this team, your mustache will be graced with the scent of cinnamon and oak.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure I've heard of that beard oil.
yeah. I mean,
you got. Oh my God! Make a beard oil next year. That'd be sick.
It's funny. I asked the team, like, do you guys still want to keep this name? They're like, we kind of like it.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
It kind of rolls off the tongue. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's no real reason for the name, but it's kind of stuck around. But yeah, last year we had this goal. I work at Movember, but this is just kind of for fun, and kind of wanted to practice what I preach. So I said, hey, let's try to get some people involved. And so we set a goal of 30 guys in 30 days to raise $30,000. Last year we had a bunch of events and had a great time. Ended up getting 45 guys and raised $45,000.
Y'all crushed it.
And so this year we're back at it again. Even more events, like almost too many. And our goal this year is for $60,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're shooting for. I think we're just at 15,000 right now. So
quarter of the way through the month, on track. Hopefully, I'm on this team, by the way. Team Cinnamon and Oak. I'm hoping to come to the Flano 5K. Okay, that's one of the ones I want to do, and then maybe something's going on this weekend too.
Yeah,
there's some other events going on this weekend. Yeah,
I would say that the one this weekend is, and this is a good example of like, yes, we have some fundraising events, but a lot of them are just for like a good time, bringing guys together. And so the one on Friday it's called Whiskey Turtleneck, where we're asking everybody to show up with turtlenecks and blazers and their mustaches, and we're gonna have like a little bit of whiskey, some beer, and just like get together as a group. A lot of the guys don't know each other. It's like a group of strangers or friends of friends, and we're coming together. We're also gonna have a mental health panel that night too. So it's just a time for people to come together, and I think it's the beauty of Movember. Once again, these conversations, you bring people together. Having a good laugh, good banter with your mustaches and turtlenecks, but then like one guy will open up about something, and as you guys know, it just takes one person to show that vulnerability a little bit, even if you're strangers, and suddenly now you're having a conversation about mental health or testicular cancer, and it's pretty cool. You have these guys that are strangers that are now like connecting and being vulnerable with one another. So yeah,
it's a good reason to get together. It's like a catalyst, like just get
catalyst
the ball
for
rolling.
Conversation. Yeah.
Well, that's great. You've got Team Cinnamon and Oak, and I'm going to put that link in the description as well. So y'all can, if you're listening or watching, if you want to donate, that's a place where you can donate.
Sweet.
Help fundraise for us and for this great cause with Movember. I'm going to kind of pivot us here to the rest of the conversation today. So I guess I haven't even said it. Thanks for joining, Mitch. For goodness sake, thank you for joining the podcast.
I was waiting for that.
I'm getting really bad at this. Hey, thanks for joining, Mitch. And we're gonna start with a piece of what we do on a lot of our episodes, which is a check-in. And we're gonna do just the mental health piece today. Normally, we check in on our work lives, our personal lives, and our mental health, and score each of those on a scale of 1 to 10 when we do a check-in episode. But today, we're just doing the mental health. I'll start. I'm happy to kick things off for us. I'll be the catalyst for this conversation.
Sounds like a big number.
It is. I don't know. Practicing what I preach and trying to be vulnerable here. I would put my mental health at about a 7 right now. I think the last time we did this, I might have been a 10. I might have been pretty high.
I think so.
It would have been like a 9 or a 10. Today in particular, I felt just like weirdly anxious. I don't know. It wasn't about this. It was just like I was at work, and I'm working from home now, and that's been great, first of all. But like I was at work, and I could feel just like not ready to start the rest of my day after work ended. I don't know what it was. I can't even like articulate it properly right now. But I finished my shift, and I just sat in my chair, and I couldn't like get away from my phone. Like I wanted to just be on the phone because that was comfortable. I didn't want to step into the next room even, and I don't know what it was. I felt this like weird anxiety about stuff, and without getting into like too much detail, Kabir knows what's going on. I've had some life changes happen recently, relationship wise. Things have shifted. And so I'm dealing with that change at the moment too. And so that it's on the mind. You know, it weighs on the mind a little bit. It's not a problem, which is why I'm not feeling lower on that scale. Like, it's not something I feel I can't handle.
It's
but
an uncomfortable situation.
It's an uncomfortable situation. Yeah, you knowing like just a small bit of this, then Mitch, it's an odd place to be in. It's an uncomfortable place to be in. I feel uncomfortable. I feel a little bit anxious some days, and today just felt a little extra anxious. I don't know what it was. I felt like I just wanted to just stay in one space and not do too much. I didn't go to the gym today. I went yesterday and I ran extra. What I'm fundraising with this year is I'm doing running instead of growing out the mustache. I have my mustache and I'm running.
Have you been running?
Yep.
I've been speed walking.
I've been running. Hey, you're allowed. It says you can choose walking.
Just about
in
the
there.
distance.
You can run or walk. Speed walking is
it's off the table. But I ran double my distance yesterday because I knew I might not want to do it today. I knew I had this to prepare for, but this wasn't making me anxious. It was what's going on in my personal life has got me feeling not 100%. It's a bit of a sadness, a bit of an anxiousness.
Sorry about that.
It's all right, man. We've talked in depth about it.
He's opening up. Come on.
Kabir was the first person I went to talk about when I had like this stuff going on. When it came into fruition, I called you. Or no, you called me. I texted you and you called me.
Did I?
Yep. Anyways. So I
heavily drunk.
You were actually.
Oh yeah, I was in Whistler. So.
But you still called. So I'd give my mental health today a 7. And that's okay. And something that we've pointed out on every check-in episode is that this is an up and down thing. Tomorrow I could be a 10. I could wake up and feel different. I could wake up and feel better. Who knows? But I'm a 7, and I'm okay with that.
I feel like 7's a pretty high rating.
7 is pretty high.
I
feel pretty high. Like I feel pretty high. I usually feel like I'm around like a 8 or 9.
Okay,
and that's my consistent. So it's a drop down. It's not awful.
Yeah.
How about you?
Okay.
Mitch
I was gonna say 7, but now I feel like I should drop it lower, or like I don't know. I'm probably around like a 7.2.
Fuck off. Yeah. Was it The Price is Right?
Yeah. Like overall good. Yesterday I went for a swim. I got over 10,000 steps in. A lot of time outside. Like productive work day. It was a beautiful day yesterday. Today's been just like a bit more busy. It's also just a busy time. I work for Movember. It's November, so I got a lot on the go. You know, talks and interviews and meetings and deadlines and all this kind of stuff that's happening right now. So that's just like a little bit more busy. I don't have as much time to work out. I need to do groceries. Like I'm running out of food. But I've been like eating pretty healthy.
Bare, huh?
I've been eating pretty healthy, but then tonight I just like ordered some sushi, which is fine. It's like somewhat healthy, I guess. So yeah, I'd say I'm probably around a 7. But recently too, I've been like working a little too much. I'll be waking up a little bit earlier than I like to, just 'cause my mind's going, maybe a little bit of anxiousness or whatever. And so, yeah.
I know exactly what you mean about the waking up a little early with the anxious mind. It's like, you ever wake up from a nap and your heart's just racing? Nope. No, right. Well, that's just me.
I don't know about that one,
but I'll wake up from a nap and it's like I have like a mental list of things I need to do. And it's like right away I'm hit with that, and right away my brain's going like, oh shit, like I'm wasting time. Like I got to get on this. Do you feel like you have too much on your plate right now with what you got going on?
I don't think it's too much. It's definitely manageable. It's just that time of year when there's lots on the go. I could probably be actually better at prioritizing stuff, or like some people are I'm really jealous of these people that use Asana or like Notion or these like digital organizers, and they have their life basically all mapped out and everything they have to do is all there and nicely task list. That's not me. I've tried to do that and like fail miserably, but I think they can if you're able to do that, it can be a huge, awesome thing, because you can just know that everything's there and it's organized. And it's funny. I was actually recently started seeing a life coach, actually, just to like kind of work through some things, just for like try it out. It's actually been really helpful. And I was talking to him about this, and he actually got me to like express, okay, like what would happen if you had that, okay, well, or like worked less or whatever it may be. I'm like, okay, well, I would be able to, you know, spend more time with family or friends, or like plan more trips, you know, go to the work out more regularly, that kind of thing. And so I think I've got a little bit more motivation now to try to like better organize my life a little bit better, just because I've kind of like listed out all the benefits that I would have if I was to actually invest in that and do that. So
if you were to rebalance
a little bit,
makes room for those other things.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way of like looking at it too, is because you doing an exercise like that, super simple, but it identifies for you that these things are important. Like even if you're not thinking about it consciously all the time, like now, did you find that I guess made you realize that those things are as important as they are to you?
I think I always knew they were important to me. It's funny. I think it also goes back to like my relationship. It can be my relationship with work sometimes, of, you know, feeling like I always need to do more, or like grind out more, or if I'm not productive, well, I'll just put in a little bit more time. And you always do that with work. I think guys can do it especially, but it comes at a sacrifice of other things, right? Like, so you don't have as much free time in your evenings, you're not seeing friends, you're not, you know, going to the gym as much. These other things that are important in life, you sacrifice them to do work stuff. So just kind of like writing it out and kind of figure out, okay, what are you actually giving up and what do you actually want, and kind of getting a bit more clarity on it. I do find that's good about a coach, and it's similar to a therapist. They're very similar. That it just gets you to kind of like talk through it and really figure out what's important. Yeah, I just found it quite helpful.
Yeah, that's cool. I haven't done counseling in a while. Counseling, therapy, life coach, all like someone to talk to.
Yeah.
You know, should get that started again soon, probably.
No.
So 7.2 out of 10.
7.2.
Cavs, how are you doing with your mental
I don't
health?
think we've had anything in between like a 0 and a 0.5 before.
No,
Just a weird guy, weird mustache. Okay. I think I was going in. Like when it gets dark out. Yeah, I've mentioned this before.
Always,
it gets dark out. Like the seasonal depression starts to hit a little bit, but so far I've been pretty good. I would say maybe like a 9, maybe even a 10, relative to how I normally feel around this time. No, I've just been. I upped the vitamin D. That actually helps quite a bit. I've been fairly consistent with the gym, which always helps my mental health too. Started rewatching Community.
Oh yeah, because they're gonna do a movie. No,
are they?
That's the
6 seasons in a movie,
like a reunion movie or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, I thought they.
I don't know if I've watched Community.
It's pretty funny.
It's
it's the same as every show where you know all the comedies where you once you get used to each
who the
character,
characters are,
and it gets really funny. But definitely worth a shot if you haven't.
Okay.
I'll
look into it.
I'd recommend. Sure. I'd recommend it. Yeah, I've been finding a good show to watch. I don't know. Everything's in routine at the moment, so I'm good. I haven't been playing COD or video games much, but I've been holding strong. Normally when I've been mentioned this like a bunch of times on the podcast, like if I'm not seeing my friends or we're not on Discord playing games or something, usually my mood drops quite a bit, and I'm left wondering what the hell is happening. But that's just what it is. But I haven't played for a while. I'm pretty good.
I'm missing you.
Yeah, I'll be on soon.
I've been playing so much, way too much.
I used to play a lot. I miss it a lot, but
that would be another thing where you got to sacrifice something to be able to make time for that.
Yeah,
not worth,
man. Yeah. So what do you think has changed like between like last year around this time to now? Because you pointed that out that it's around this time of year where it starts to get a little shifty.
Yeah, no, I was expecting to get a little shifty, but everything's holding strong. I don't know. Maybe I was just more prepared for it.
I think it's because
Hey.
he's got bigger biceps.
That's probably it.
That's what it is.
They
Let's
are
be
a tiny
honest.
bit.
Yeah. Take your shirt off. Let's see it.
One of these episodes. Not during the
Eventually.
winter.
Season
The
finale?
fans are waiting for it. Give them what they want.
No comment. Man, well, that's good. So 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. 7, 7.2, 9. These are all decent numbers. You're right. They're not that low. But it's all by our own scale too. It's like a subjectivity piece to it as well, right? Like this is by our own standards. You compared yourself, you said, to where you typically are at this time. You'd put yourself at a 9, right? Maybe that's a winter 9, different than a summer 9. You know?
Right.
It can always
Exactly.
get better. So taking all of our ratings, it's good to just get like a sense of where we're all at today. To take that one step further, I guess I want to dive into a little bit about how we each approach dealing with our mental health when it comes to talking to other people about it. The first question that I'll ask is more along the lines of, like, when do you decide as a man to go to someone for help? You know, like what point do you need to hit where you think, okay, now's the time, now is when I need help? Is there a consistency to it? Is there not? Have you had experiences where this worked or not? What do you think?
That's a good question.
I think it depends on what it's about. I also think, like, the word help, I agree with there. Sometimes we need help, but I think it's also just about taking action, like acting, like not acting, but like to take an action. And I think some things just be like proactive as well. I think we should also talk about the importance of being proactive with our mental health, doing stuff on a regular basis for like maintenance, to be able to check in. Let's try to avoid like waiting until we're, drowning figuratively to like reach out for help. So like I would say for me, like some maintenance stuff that I try to do is, eat healthy, try to like be physically active. My morning routines are really important to me, to kind of get up and start the day in a certain way, and journaling has probably been the biggest thing for me, like over the past couple of years. Just like in the morning, have my coffee, then write a few things about how I'm feeling, what's going on in my life. If I'm like going through a relationship thing, maybe I'll write about that, or a work thing, I'll kind of journal about that, or what I want to like switch up in my life if I'm feeling like I need to make a shift, or just like write things I'm like grateful for, excited about, or proud of. Sometimes it's like a bit of self-love in there. I'll be like, you're doing great. Like, keep up the good work. Like, just these are some things that just like kind of help get me going on the right day and kind of help reset it. So if yesterday was, kind of a crappy day, today's a new day. Let's like start it fresh. So I think for me, like those kind of proactive things, or if I feel like I'm really stressed out or had a stressful day at work, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for a swim. I'm gonna drive to the pool, do a bunch of laps, and like that'll be good. So yeah, I think for me, like taking action for my mental health in that way is really important. But yeah, I guess there are times in life for sure that I can like recognize, okay, like I need to get this off my chest, or this is something a little bit bigger that, journaling isn't going to necessarily solve. And I think it's just being able to have that self-awareness that, okay, this is something I need to either call a friend, chat with them about, just get off my chest, or maybe book an appointment with my therapist, be like, all right, I need to dig into this a little bit because I don't know what to do with this. So yeah.
I think you point out two like very different approaches to mental health. One is this maintenance approach, which works really well, right? It's kind of like dealing with physiotherapy, right? You have an injury, you do the exercises to recover from that, but then you continue to do the exercises to then be preventative in what you're doing. When we're talking about like being physically active, you do the same thing through journaling, routinely speaking to a counselor, being physically active regularly. The other approach, which is the approach I was like kind of thinking of or imagining with this question, is the reactionary, I'm already in the deep end approach. It's too late, right? And now I'm looking for help, and I've let this problem or this pain, this loss, this grief, whatever it might be, get to me to a point where it's like if it keeps going too far, you might not ever ask for help about it. And it might just be a problem that festers and gets worse and worse and worse. But preventative keeps you from doing that. Being consistent keeps you from doing that and running down that path. What do you think, Cabs? When do you feel like it's time to ask for help as a man?
I don't know if there is a consistent, time. Yeah, it depends on what you need help for.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when things start to feel overwhelming for yourself, probably when things start to, you feel like things are starting to leak into other parts of your life, that would be the time I think you wouldn't want it to let it go any further than that, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, I would want to be talking about any sort of, not even problems, just any sort of situations that are going on in my life with any people I'm close with, just to make sure that doesn't happen,
But that's that consistency piece there then too, right? Like you're maintaining those relationships with people so you can have those conversations. When I think about this question myself, I'm trying to, and I feel like I do a pretty decent job of not letting it get to a point where it's too late. But there are certain topics or like areas in my life that I kind of avoid bringing up with people now because of how I've gone through them in the past. Relationship things, for example, I don't open up about those as much anymore to all of our group of guys. And the reason why I don't, I think, is because of how like they received what I talked about well, but I worried that it painted like a negative picture of the person who I was in a relationship with at the time. And I don't want to do that again if I'm having relationship problems again in a new relationship. So now I've like kept these things to myself, but thankfully I have you, Cabs, and I've gone to you about things in recent past, but my circle has changed. Who I go to and who I'm consistently open with has changed a little bit. It's kind of narrowed as I've gotten older, and even the last year, right? I've talked about things less with more people, but I've got strong relationships with someone who I can go to about just about anything. And thankfully that's Kabir for the most part. I go to my mom a lot. I have a good relationship with my mom, right? And she's someone who I go to, but only about certain things. I try not to let it get to a point where it's too late, right? I think that's the trap that a lot of men can fall into, is we don't want to put something onto someone else. Do you ever feel that you don't want to burden someone with what you're dealing with?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I feel like it's different because I have my two older brothers at home, and we've learned to become very open about talking about like any sort of issues going on. Not so much in the past, but within the past like 5 years, we've definitely grown a lot closer. But so that's easy for me when I'm anything that comes up, it's easy to talk about with them. But if I didn't have them, it would definitely be, and you as well, it would definitely be a lot more tough. Like we could have these conversations on the podcast, but I don't know how good I would be at opening up even to some of our friends, still.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have seen myself like bottle things up in my life. I've gotten a lot better with it over the years. But when I was younger, I definitely did a lot, especially in romantic relationships, actually, like trying to avoid that conflict, holding it in. And I think that's like when it festers. Like it could be something small, but then you just like hold it in. And then it just builds up, and you begin to like resent the person just because you're not communicating or like sharing what's going on. I think it's just like an example of like what happens, and I think it's pretty common. If you're not, really the best at communicating or navigating those like tough conversations. So yeah.
I also used to think it was kind of, I know some people still think, like the younger generation still thinks of like this too, but I used to think it was kind of cool to bottle up your emotions, and be like the isolated personality,
the mysterious guy.
Yeah, and not really talk much and just kind of have your own private life. Obviously still have your friend group, but not talk about your personal life too much. But yeah, that's not the way to go.
It's not cool.
Yeah. Strong stoic type.
Not as cool as we thought.
I think it serves a purpose. And what I mean, like there's value in it, and I've learned that over the last year, I'd say here. In some of the conversations we've had with people on the podcast, is like there is value in being that strong stoic person in certain moments. I think it was when we were talking with our friend Brandon, and it was like thinking about times where he had seen, he and Jesse, his brother, had seen their dad cry, and they hadn't seen that, and it was like they wouldn't want to have seen that in certain moments. You know, like if you're at a funeral and you look over to your dad or whoever it is, and they're holding it together, you know what I mean? It's like that allows you to feel like you can hold it together. But that is like a time and a place. I don't think that it serves us very well, and maybe history and stats would show that it doesn't serve us very well to do that with everything, right? There are these smaller internal battles that we can share with people, right? There are these smaller things that we can share with people.
Yeah, totally. And I think, you know, there's this, you know, conversation that we're asking people to be more vulnerable, and guys to be more vulnerable. And there's people that will hear that and they'll be like, oh, so you think, you know, you don't think anything to do with masculinity is good, and like they'll almost like throw some hate at being vulnerable. And I think it's important to call out, like, yeah, there's actually a time, to your point, like there's a time and place to be strong and stoic and be self-reliant and that kind of thing. Like, it's important that a kid stands up to a bully in a play yard, or like if you're a leader or a parent, to be, you know, showing that strong stoic side. Or if you're a firefighter running into a burning building, you got to be pretty stoic to do that. But it's like, when you come out of that fire, are you able to debrief? Are you able to like open up and talk about what you saw? I think that's like what's really important. And yeah, for everybody, like we all have our fires, like in life, you know, whether it's like a relationship breakdown or, you know, losing a loved one, like we got to be able to talk about it too.
Yeah, well said. There's like definitely like a balance there, you know. Where you can learn to be stoic, but you can also learn to be vulnerable as well.
And there's so much value in it, right? Do either of you, like, can you think of maybe what kind of made you realize that in both of your cases, it sounds like maintenance is important. For me, I'll share what I'm thinking here. So the question I wrote down was like, was there a moment or a thing that made you realize that there are times when you need to ask for help? For me, I caught myself in the past allowing myself and like encouraging myself to feel badly. I remember going through a past breakup, and I turned to music a lot for a lot of things, right? Like I love music, and it gets me through so much. And, you know, you go through a breakup, you start listening to like sadder songs, like music with like slower beats per minute will start to like resonate with you a little more, right? And normally I'll turn to that for a bit, but I found myself, and I caught myself like going back to like a sad playlist. I made like a full sad playlist, and I just went to it to like make myself feel sad again. And it was then when I kind of realized like that's a bit detrimental. It felt like the right thing to do at the time was to like encourage myself to, like, I was telling myself this is getting emotions out there. But I think what might have helped me more, and it's something that I do now, is talking. It was like you create this almost like a feedback loop in your own head of like how you should feel. And I was allowing kind of sadness to just exist and circle around and just sit in it. And that's okay for some time. Like it's important to recognize when you're feeling sad, for example. And in this case, it was with a previous breakup. But then to just sit in it was something that I realized I was doing. And so I don't do that as much anymore. When I'm feeling sad, I don't throw on the sad songs anymore.
You're more proactive these days.
I'm a bit more proactive with it, and I don't go down that path as much as I love music for making you feel something. And I still do, like I play my music in the shower, right? I've got a waterproof speaker. I love it. And I got this waterproof speaker in the shower, and then I just had some songs on shuffle, and a sadder one came on, and you just find yourself kind of like sitting there in the shower, not moving. You know, like I'm just listening to it. Like I'm done cleaning myself. Like I'm just.
Are you actually sitting down?
No.
Okay. I mean,
I've done that before. Admittedly, I've done that before. Okay. I've like squatted down because I just felt like I didn't want to stand. Fuck, man.
Wait, so you're squatting?
like not not like doing like a squat form, but I was like, I got bad like flexion in my knees and my ankles, so I can't do a great squat. But I didn't want to like sit on my ass in the shower.
Picture this: Ruben squatting down in the shower.
Kind of like a knee. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I found myself just listening to like
squatting, cheek spread.
But I did that. And I found like that happened actually just recently. That was just like not sitting in the shower. This was where I was just standing and a song came on. I just let it, like, I was just with my thoughts, you know? But yeah, there was a moment in the past where I realized like, what am I doing? Like, I'm just allowing myself to feel this for too long. And I've learned since that talking for me helps a lot. And so going to you was something I did right away in this most recent instance of me dealing with some stuff, right? I find that for me is the key to not getting below a 7 on my mental health, you know? Like,
Yeah.
that for me helps. But were there ever like moments for either of you where you kind of realize like, okay, this is how I've learned now that I need to focus on maintenance more, understand what it looks like for you to reach out for support?
Mitch?
I don't know. I find this one tough. To be honest, like, I feel I was completely oblivious to all things mental health, more or less. I think really until I started working at Movember, you know, and that was, just about 9 years ago. So it's been a while. And I learned, obviously being at Movember, you learn a lot about mental health, and I began to understand it a lot more, and like, okay, like, this is a real thing. Be able to reflect back and get more self-awareness. So like, I don't think I really knew that I needed to ask for help. My dad was, in the military. He was a pretty stoic kind of guy, did it all, like, repairs and fixed it up by himself, like, at home. Kind of always had everything in line. He was an engineer too, so everything was planned out. So I kind of had a role model that had everything kind of sorted. And so, when I look back, I kind of think that's how I thought things worked. You just like did it on your own, figured it out, that kind of thing. So it probably wasn't really into my later years that I had the self-awareness to be like, oh, like, that feeling I'm having, like, I should probably talk about it, or like, actually that talking to somebody is like really good for your mental health, or just hanging out with friends can be, such a boost to how you feel. And if you're feeling down, like, just phone somebody up and you'll probably feel better for it. I didn't even know that it was a thing, probably until, into my late 20s. So,
well, it's good you learned.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. So starting at Movember kind of brought that on for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also like, I think about that. Not everybody can work at Movember. Like, we're a pretty small team, and I feel like there's a lot of people that just don't have that basic understanding around mental health. I think we're getting better, but yeah. So always happy to kind of chat with people and try to share some stuff. Yeah.
How about you, Cabs? How did you learn that your brothers are good go-tos, that I'm a good go-to? Self-plug. How did you learn that even like fitness was so important for you? What kind of made you realize these things?
Well, I'm never a big talker, like, as we've talked about
even on the podcast.
Yeah. So my normal, like, if I'm going through something, my normal process would be to, work it out at the gym, or just get myself back in routine, or, I don't know, just sit through it. And usually I don't have that. My issues aren't, huh?
Are you sitting in the shower?
I'm standing.
Fuck you guys.
Usually my issues, they're just temporary, so they kind of just mellow out after a while, or I'm able to think through it when I'm at the gym or something. But if it's something more than that, then yeah, I'm super thankful that I have my brothers or Ruben to go to. But honestly, probably within the last year since we started the podcast, I became more aware of it.
like how important that routine was.
Yeah, I mean, not even so much the routine. I'm still figuring out how important communicating is. Like, I would like to be. I was never been a big fan of like calling, or still not like FaceTime or anything. It still just seems really weird. But I'm open-minded, you know, like it could be beneficial, not so much the FaceTime, but like just the calling.
Yeah.
Calling a friend at a random time when you actually need it still sounds really weird to me, but I'm starting to see the benefits of just communicating with someone.
We've kind of talked about, I guess, at least I've mentioned some people that stand out to me that I go to pretty often, because this communication piece has existed in everything that we've said, right? Like there's some level of communication, whether it's to others or to yourself, whether that's journaling, to others with a counselor, to others with a friend, to others with family, right? Someone that you have a close relationship with, that you can go to. Do you both have people that are consistent for you, and like, why are they consistent? For myself, I've mentioned Kabir. You're someone who I go to almost all the time for everything now, because especially in the last 2 years, we've grown a lot closer, right? We do this podcast together now, and there's like been more of a reason for us to build a strong relationship. I'm really thankful for it. My other best friend, Sebastian, I went out for lunch with him the other day to talk to him about what's going on, and he's someone I go to. And that's because I just feel safe talking to both of you. I feel as though there's no judgment talking with both of you, and you're not trying to fix my problems. You're there listening to me, and I find that really helpful. And so I'm just thankful that I have you two to go to, especially as other men that I can go talk to. You know, I do talk to. I've shared on this podcast so much. I talk to my mom about so many things too, but to just get that male to male, man to man perspective going, you know, that helps me a lot. Because I feel connected to you in some sense, you know, that you can maybe better picture what I'm going through, you know, and the way that I'm seeing things, because we're hardwired some ways sometimes, you know, it can feel that way at least. How about you two? Do you have people that you go to consistently, or why?
Yeah. I think I definitely have a few friends that I'd go to. I've got a good friend Will and my buddy Jesse. I've got my friend James. I've got a few other good buddies too that I would totally feel comfortable opening up on about stuff. Similar to you, I think they're just people that when I have gone to them, no judgment. You know, I appreciate their perspective. They open up as well. They can get vulnerable and share their own perspective. They're pretty comfortable to hold that space with me. We just have some shared history that, you know, that trust that's built over time. So, definitely a few. I also have a lot of girlfriends that I feel really comfortable opening up about that kind of stuff too. And I agree with you on the guy to guy stuff. They sometimes you just need that guy opinion, but I find like, especially if you're talking about like relationships, you know, with a partner or girlfriend or something, I find girls' perspectives can be really good as well, because sometimes guys aren't always like the best, and you want that like girl opinion as well, perspective. So I have a few really good girlfriends that are good at talking about. I think girls are also maybe sometimes better at talking about emotional feeling kind of stuff, because they just are way better at it. In general, they practice more. So I appreciate, you know, having them in my roster of friends to talk about stuff too as well. Yeah,
it's good that you mentioned that, because we touched on that a little bit actually with Aziza when she was on our podcast, one of Kabir's close girlfriends, right? And you pointed that out actually, Cabs, that it's good to have that other perspective. Because it really, I don't know, even just in like a situation, if you're in an argument with your girlfriend, and just to have someone else to talk to really just put things into perspective, make sure you're not, or just to let you know that you're not crazy, essentially. But there's just there's just so much. There's just a better, it's just a better conversation. Ends up being that way.
I feel like they're gonna come at it from a different perspective. They're gonna ask you different questions. They're gonna kind of poke and prod you in a different way. That, yeah, it's kind of nice to have.
True.
Yeah, definitely see the
hopeful.
value in it.
Yeah. But otherwise, you've got your brothers.
Brothers, you, Aziza, but my brothers are probably the most valuable, I think, just because I see them. We're all kind of clones, and I mean we're brothers, so it's
They're all huge. They're all handsome.
But yeah, no, I always look up to them as my role models. So to have them, and we can communicate any day, and we've all gone through, like they've gone through everything they've gone through. I've either went through or I'm going to be going through. So it's super comforting to have them around. But Ruben is like the most open person I know. So
I'm sitting in my shower.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Cabs, because I appreciate that you feel that you can go to me about things too, because I definitely feel that way about you, buddy. There you go. Maybe we could sit in the shower together sometime. That brings me to the last question that I have ready for the podcast today, which is, do you feel now, answering this with your headspace today, do you feel prepared for the next thing, whether that's the next loss, the next struggle, the next challenge, the next mental test, whatever comes at you? Do you feel equipped and ready to handle that? Thinking about what your mental health journey has looked like so far.
I can start,
Mitch.
I feel like I might just be saying this because I've been feeling good mentally recently.
Yeah, well, that's how I asked.
Yeah,
the question,
I mean that's, but yeah, I feel like I would be. I feel like I'm ready for that loss. I'm ready for it to get fucked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, honestly, I'm feeling good lately. So bring it on. Essentially, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got the tools under my belt. I feel like I'm prepared enough. The podcast has been a huge help.
Even just learning like those things to do and look out for, and kind of start to see the signs in yourself of like how you manage things. You know, you've identified so much, I feel like, in the last year, even about what works for you and what gets you through stuff. So
unless it's something like a natural disaster that has me,
then
fucks up the house or something.
Yeah. Tornado touches down only on Kabir's house. Man, cool. So you feel ready? Bring it on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Okay.
How about you, Mitch?
Careful what you wish for.
This guy wakes up tomorrow. The worst news.
Yeah. Next time on Your Mental Podcast. Am I ready? I mean, good question. I don't think, it depends on what it is. I'm probably not ready for it, but I think I'll be able to get through it. I think compared to Mitch 10 years ago, I've got a lot more tools in my toolbox, a lot more practice, like dealing with this, a lot more experience, like opening up, or also just resources. Like I've got a therapist I could go to, and I've seen him a bunch, so I wouldn't have any problem. Like, you know, okay, this new thing is in my life now. Let's kind of start working on this, you know? So I've got a lot of friends that I would feel comfortable opening up about this. So I think like I do feel like I'm stocked. I'm ready to go if something was to come, you know, like if it was a tornado hit down, it'd be the equivalent of like having your pantry full and like your flashlight batteries ready to go and like all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So
it's got a warm blanket.
You know, that's, I guess that's how I would kind of feel if something was to come up. It would suck. I'm probably not ready for it, but I'm prepared, I suppose.
As ready as you can be, right? Because that's the thing too, right? You don't know what the next thing is going to be. But yeah, to both of your points, like you're trusting that you have the tools, the understanding to know that you're going to make it through. And it's kind of like you build a track record for yourself too. You've made it through everything else so far, right? Why would there be any reason to doubt that you're going to make it through the next thing? So that's the way that I feel about it for myself too. And today especially, I feel really happy that we had this conversation, because it's just you get good reminders having these talks on the podcast. I know that we both talked about that a bit, you and I, Kabir, but my journal is here and it's been sitting here for weeks. I haven't been journaling. You saying that it's part of your morning routine and you'll take your journal out and have your coffee with it. I now have a job that allows me to have a morning routine. Maybe I bring that into my morning routine because I have been feeling like I don't have something consistent right now. I don't have that maintenance going. And so this is just a good reminder. And that's what I think this podcast serves its purpose as, is being a reminder to make an effort and do things that prepare you for the challenges that life throws at you. So I appreciate having this talk today. And I think that that's something small that I can start to incorporate and just write down what I'm thinking in the morning at the start of my day.
Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One thing I will say for all your viewers out there is if they've always wanted to get into journaling, or they've tried and failed, or like gave up the habit, it took me a while and a lot of false starts with it. But what actually helped me to get into it was buying a small journal. So like one that's like this big. Sure. You know, it's like really small pages because it's easy to fill out a page.
Sure.
When it's that small. Even yours, like, it could be intimidating because the page is a lot bigger and you might feel like a failure actually, but it's easy to just start with a page and get something down. Now I'll write more than a page, maybe like a page or two in the morning, but it's like, it's weird, but it's just that sense of accomplishment and not it being a daunting task. So just throwing it out there for anybody that wants to get into it.
That's a good point.
That is a really good point. Yeah. Because you don't know how much you're going to need when you start writing too. When I start writing, I do think that sometimes, like, okay, I've only used like a corner of this page and I'll go back and rewrite on a page.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I suck at journaling.
Yeah. Maybe I'll leave this on my desk for 6 weeks. But yeah, thank you for that tip. That's a good idea for our audience. Maybe someone who wants to try a little smaller journal. I gave you that journal recently, right?
Yeah,
maybe a couple months ago. Hey, fair enough.
Yeah, cut it in half first.
Shorten the pages.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I got a tip.
Yeah?
I put vitamin D.
Yeah, I bumped up mine too.
Yeah. It works.
Good call.
There's it's sunshine in a pill.
Yeah.
If you think about it. How much you taking? What's your IUs at?
I don't know. It's just it's like those mini gel caps. I usually take 2 every day, but now I'm taking 4.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, save something for the rest of us.
Get it while it's still there.
Come on.
Man. Mitch, thanks for coming in. I appreciate you in this busy time of the year for you, making time for us. That thing on Friday sounds kind of cool. If it's just turtlenecks and beer, and that mental health panel looks interesting for us Cinnamon and Oak folks. I am off on Friday night, obviously. I'm getting a haircut, fresh cut at 4:30.
I'm jealous.
Maybe I'll come through, hey? I got to get a turtleneck.
Yeah.
Uniqlo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah. Cool.
Anywhere. Anywhere.
But there's some cool events coming up for this team, Cinnamon and Oak. The link will be in the bio. Y'all can donate if you'd like to. That link for Movember Conversations will be in the bio. Y'all can check that out if you want to just see what it's like to practice some more difficult conversations with people that matter in your lives, people that you want to be there for, but maybe you don't know how. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Cabs. And we will see y'all in 2 weeks with another episode. Peace. Thanks, Mitch.
Boom.
Nice.
Fuck yeah, man.
Nice. But have you ever had a photo or an image of you naked in the shower for your audience before?
No.
Yeah, well, then,
A mental image.
Yeah, that could be the thumbnail.
yeah.
Yeah.
Surely you can Photoshop that. Like an old German man.
He's like, I don't need to Photoshop it. I have one.
Yeah, I set up the tripod before I